Team Android or Team iOS? The age-old debate of Android versus iOS continues, and yes, while they're converging towards a very similar approach, there are still so many things that iOS lacks when compared to Android, and vice versa. I'm Gary, this is Foxtech, and it's time to talk about what iOS gets wrong. Now, I've been using Android phones for the past 4 years, so a few things stood out to me straight away when jumping over to iOS with the iPhone 12. Starting with no split screen. On Android, the majority of apps can be used in a split screen scenario, with one app on the top and one app on the bottom, or one app on the left and on the right if used in a landscape mode. For example, let's say you're watching a YouTube video and you want to check Twitter at the same time, or you're reading an email while replying to a message. You can go into split screen and use both apps at the same time without any issues. With phone screens getting bigger and bigger, I feel like split screen is becoming more important and useful than ever. The iPhone 12 Pro Max comes with a 6.7-inch display, which means it's similar to tablets from 8 years ago. Android phones of all screen sizes are now getting split screen, but even the biggest iPhones are not taking advantage of that screen real estate yet due to the lack of split screen multitasking. The fastest way to get into the camera on Android, wherever you are, is to double click the power button. That shortcut instantly opens up the camera app so you can get taking shots right away. On iOS, that's not possible. The only ways of opening the camera on the iPhone 12 is holding the camera from the lock screen, touching the camera app, or pulling down the control center and clicking the camera icon in there. Neither of these is as fast, useful, or universal as double clicking the power button from anywhere. Currently, double-clicking the power button on the iPhone takes you straight to the wallet for payments, which is also kind of useful, but I wish there was an option where you could hold the power button for that, because currently, holding the power on iPhones does absolutely nothing. Gesture navigation was introduced to iOS on the iPhone X, and Apple have been known to have some of the best gesture navigation around on smartphones. Many have even copied Apple's implementation over the past few years. And while it is great, there's some things that annoy me and make very little sense. To go back, you have to swipe in from the left side of the display only. Swiping from the right goes forwards most of the time, and when there's no option to go forwards, it does absolutely nothing. On Android, you can swipe from both the left and the right to go back, and this makes so much sense. Whichever hand you use your phone with, you can comfortably swipe from the nearest side to your thumb to go back. For people that use their right hand, it makes no sense on an iPhone to reach all the way over to the left to swipe to go back, when they could have easily just swiped from the right hand side. Swiping from either side to go back just makes sense, and I'm really surprised that Apple haven't implemented it yet. Speaking of gestures, another one I like from Android which I'm missing on iOS is swiping down anywhere on the home screen to drag down the notifications. Especially on iOS, to get to notifications, you have to reach all the way up diagonally to the top left of your phone and drag down. Good luck with that on the 12 Pro Max. There's reachability, where dragging down on the gesture pill at the bottom will bring the top half of the screen halfway down. So if you get used to using that, then I guess that could be useful, but it's another step to do the exact same thing. The pull down gesture does bring up the search bar, which is really useful when you're trying to find an app. So this one's kind of a give and take. There's still no fingerprint scanner, and although this isn't an iOS thing, it is for sure an iPhone thing. Both Face ID and fingerprint scanners have their benefits and drawbacks, but if I was to only have one, I'd choose a fingerprint scanner. The ease of use of not having to swipe the screen every time you unlock it, the ability to already unlock it before you even look at the screen, the speed, and the ability to be able to unlock it with a mask on. It's great, especially hardware ones on the back. Yeah, the in-display ones are pretty damn cool, but they're not quite as reliable as the hardware ones on the back or the side. So I'd say that's the best way. Face ID is notch. Now we're going to get into a few specifics when using the phone. Firstly, there's no numero at the top of the stock keyboard when typing, so you have to press 2 buttons to be able to even enter a number. I don't think that's intuitive. There should be an option in the stock keyboard to have a numero at the top, or to hold the top row of keys to bring up a number just like you can on Android. There's also no vibration feedback on the stock keyboard. Yeah, you can install third-party keyboards which allow the use of vibration feedback, but iPhones have the best vibration motor in smartphones. So it's a shame that you can't get haptic feedback when typing, because personally, I think it would add to a quality experience. On iOS, I've noticed that the swipe speed when you're scrolling is quite limited. So on Android, the faster you swipe, the faster it moves. In a way, there's kind of no limit. The further and faster your finger moves, the further and faster you'll swipe. On iOS, there's kind of a limit on the swipe speed, so you can't just go rapid from the bottom to the top, which is something I noticed coming from Android. I'm still surprised by this next one, especially with iOS 14 and the introduction of OLED displays on all iPhone 12 models this year. But there's still no always on display. Always on displays help you see the simple things without even interacting with the phone. You can glance down and see things like time and any notifications that you've missed. The main reason to avoid always on displays at the minute is battery life. It'll obviously use more battery life if it's enabled, but I feel it's something that needs to come to iPhones because you get used to using a phone with an always on display. You'll miss it if it's not there. Why? Why can we still not move apps to anywhere we want on the home screens? It's 2020, you've got the fastest smartphone chip ever built, but you won't let me move apps in a grid on the screen because you think everything should be forced to the top of a massive 6.7-inch display. Not cool. Also, while we're at it, why is there no close all recent apps button? To close all recent apps, you've got to swipe up and hold, then individually swipe every single app that you've used and had open. That could be 20 apps if you've not closed them for a few days. Come on, Tim, it makes no sense. Just stick a close all apps button in there and call it a day. Strangely, there's no notification icons that show up at the top in the notification bar where things like the time and the Wi-Fi are. On Android, if you get a WhatsApp message or an email, there's a little icon relating to that app that pops up by the time in the top left of the notification bar. So you can see if you've missed anything or you've not opened anything yet. I know the notch takes up the whole thing up there, but even on older iPhones without the notch, there's no icon that comes up indicating whether you've received a notification or not. In general, I'd say that notifications are easier to manage and deal with on Android compared to iOS. They're grouped better and they're just simpler to filter through and organise. It still feels a little bit janky on iOS for me personally, but maybe that's because I've only started using iPhones recently again and I need to get used to it. This is just what I've noticed after a couple of weeks using an iPhone 12 as my daily driver, and that I think make Android easier to use day to day. The things I've mentioned have been obvious to me because, like I've said, I've spent so long on Android without touching an iPhone, so they really stood out. Yes, this video was kind of going through what I prefer on Android that iOS cannot do, but I'm not necessarily saying that Android is better than iOS or that iOS is better than Android. I'm sure there are so many examples where iOS does things that Android can't. AirDrop. But I feel like there's still so many differences in how the operating systems work, and it's the major reason why most people pick one phone over the other, whether it be an iPhone or Android. If you like this video or any others on the channel, consider subscribing, drop a like and comment down below, are you on Android or are you on iOS? This was Fox Tech, thanks for watching and I'll catch you on the next one.